Hey folks, my name is Chris Wessel, and today we're going to be tying a moose wing Paddy Francis. Typically the Paddy Francis is tied on with calf tail wing, a white calf tail wing. This is a variant off the original pattern, and moose wing works very well here. So we're using a Maruto M30 hook, and it is a size 4. I typically don't tie them this big, but it's just an easy way to show you exactly everything I'm doing. It's larger, obviously. So the first thing we're going to do is tie on a silver butt on this, which on a regular Paddy you wouldn't do. I like to make it pretty prominent, but you don't want to overdo it. Another big difference between this and a regular Paddy is you don't tie in a tail section. Just going to tie that off and cut it. Alright, so now we're going to use some natural white-tailed deer. This is a select strip from Shore Fishing. Unlike dry flies, we're not concentrating on tying this, nice and compact, and you want this to be pretty sparsely tied in, and you don't want a lot on there. Cat is trying to get into the other room. I got the doors closed here. Alright, and we just keep tying that on. And remember, we're not packing it at all. Basically, the other reason why we're not packing it is when we trim this, we need to be able to trim it as close to the shank as we can. These skinny bodies work really well in my experience, so the fatter your Paddy, the more I don't want to fish it usually. Everybody has their own preferences though, guys, and I encourage anybody to tie any way they like. I'm just tying this the way I like it. This is a really simple pattern to tie. These flies do tend to fall apart pretty easy. They can get chewed up. And you see, I'm only using smaller clumps as well because, again, we're just trying to keep that body or our thread wraps as close to the hook shank as we can. And the bigger clumps of hair that you use, the more set off the shank the thread will be. So, don't overdo it. And I think this will be our last clump. Let's see. Yeah, that's good. So we bring this around. We got to bring our thread through it. And then as we're kind of pulling that back, we just wrap our thread to hold that back a little bit. And then just tie off. And you don't have to do a super awesome job tying this off because we're going to go back in afterwards and do a better job on the actual head when we tie in the wing. Alright, so now comes the trimming, the messy part. Try to just flare this up as much as possible. You'll get some of that under fur coming out. And we're not doing any kind of curved or anything else. You just want straight cuts, and that's why I'm using straight deer hair scissors right now. And you're coming in, you don't have to get as close to the shank right now, just get rid of all this excess fur first. And then you can start, like I'm doing here, bringing it closer to the shank. Little bits at a time, that way you can ensure that you aren't clipping any thread. Guys, this is a great pattern to get into to start learning how to trim deer and spinning it. If you're a beginner, I recommend it. It's such a good pattern. I mean, it's not the prettiest pattern on earth, and I'll be the first one to admit that, but holy cow, does Atlantic salmon ever like these. So now we're just coming up and trimming up our back end. Actually usually burn these a little bit as well, just to get rid of some stuff on them, but my later is not in this room with me, and I won't make you wait for me to go get it. We're doing the same here now in the front as we did in the back, and we're just getting rid of this excess fur. You don't need these bodies to be really nice looking, and to be honest, the more little stray hairs that are sticking out of these, usually the better they fish anyway. Salmon are funny fish. You know, we spend all this time tying beautiful patterns, and I mean, you look at just classic hair wing flies, and you know, it seems like the flies like these are the ones that they go crazy for. Alright, I think that's good enough for now. So, as I said, we're going to grab our black thread now. We're using 6/0. We use 6/0 white there too. Now we're going into black, and we're just going to tie this on. And we're going to get some moose. I have a huge patch here. And nice black straight moose is what you're looking for. If you haven't worked with moose fur a lot, guys, one thing I really would love to drive home is that less is more. This stuff bulks up really quickly. It's extremely hollow. It's got big diameter fibers. And there's actually a lot of, so what I'm doing right now is just pulling out all this under fur. It just turns into a mess. But you can see how straight that is. It's good stuff. We definitely don't need all this, so I'll just trim off the bottom inch, and I'll put it in my deer hair stacker, or just hair stacker. I always call it a deer hair stacker. For any guys that tie these Patty Francis flies, they're probably asking, hey, he's tying that on a up-eye hook, and traditionally, you know, the way when this pattern was created was down-eye hook, and that's right, it is. And when I tie whitetail, or calf wing, sorry, patties, I do tie them on down eye, but I like these moose wings on an up eye. I like to riffle hitch these flies, and that accommodates that very well. So I want to come in just before the bend of my hook, right about there. We're memorizing, and I put my thumbnail right where I know I want to be, and I just cut just in front of it. Then we come in, and we split this wing in half because we don't want it to slip. A little bit of tires wax would have been nice on this, but that's okay. Didn't think about it. And you can tell that the body's driving this up a little bit. So a couple looser wraps up top, and then come down and start tying tight again, and that'll bring it down. But to be honest, the big flared wings works really well too. So We're going to use something to tie in this wing just to ensure that it doesn't come out. This is a Loctite, but Zap-A-Gap, basically any crazy glue works really well for that. And we just come in and tie in our cut ends. That's perfect. Get that little pinch there. So this pattern can be fished subsurface in a current, or it can also be fished with a riffling hitch on the surface. Works well both ways. Oh, I'm just butchering this. Sorry guys. Don't use a whip finisher the way I use a whip finisher, please. Anyway, it works. It's not pretty. And I always like using Vineyards head cement. They got good stuff. And we just try not to have too many of the shakes while we're doing this. There you go guys, a moose wing patty. If you're looking for a great pattern to get your feet wet with spinning and trimming deer hair, this is the one. It's super effective. If you fish Atlantic salmon, you need to have this fly in your box. Very good. Thank you very much for watching this video today, and I hope it helped. If you like videos like this on my channel, please hit the subscribe button. If not, just keep enjoying and have a nice day. Thank you.